structure and its functions. In the previous class, we had studied about the size and shape of a cell. So now we will study that what is the structure of a cell and what are the parts of a cell which make it up. So you would say that you have learned in class 7 that every living organism has got many organs. You have learnt about digestive organs, you have learnt about the functions of some part. Each organ in the digestive system performs different functions because that is the organ system present in a bigger organism, in a multicellular organism. Similarly, different organs of a plant perform specific functions. For example, roots help in the absorption of water and minerals. So this is all a revision of class 7th. So they are parts of a multicellular organisms. Leaves, as you have learned in class 7, are responsible for food synthesis, for making of food. Each organ is further made up of small parts called tissues. So if we study the structure of any cell, then it is, we can say that every cell is made up of, if you say that there is a cell and this is the smallest part of any organism. Now when many cells combine, they make a tissue. So a tissue will have, cell will be one single, tissue will be when many cells join together, it will form a tissue. So a group of cells is called a tissue, and when many tissues join, they make an organ. So this collection of tissue will make an organ. So we can say that if you are studying a heart, then the heart is made up of the tissues. And when many organs combine, they make a system which is called the organ system. This is how the organisms in multicellular have got their body made. They have smallest part which is called the cell. These cells combine to form the tissue, and tissues combine to form organ. And many organs like human bodies have got cell, they form tissues. Tissues of muscles will form a muscle, which could be any muscle. If you take example of digestive system, it will have smallest part which is called a tissue cell, which will form tissues of the digestive system. These tissues will form an organ. We can say stomach is an organ. And when stomach, intestine, mouth, they all combine, then they form a system. So an organ system is where many organs, there are different organs which make a system. And when many organ systems like digestive system, circulatory system, they combine, they form an organism. This is how a living organism is formed. Okay, so now here the same thing is explained in here in the book, and it says each organ is further made up of smaller parts called the tissues, and a tissue is a group of similar cells, and this is how the structure of cell and the body is made. Now what are the parts of a cell? This we will understand from a diagram. So if you study a cell, then this is a simple diagram. If I assume that this is a cell, then this cell is made up of a boundary. This boundary is called the cell membrane, which is called the boundary of the cell. This gives shape to the cell. Cell membrane gives shape to the cell, and it is a boundary of the cell. Everything which is inside the cell is controlled by the cell membrane. So anything which will enter inside the cell or go out of the cell will be controlled by this boundary. Inside the cell membrane, there is a substance which is in a semi-liquid form or a jelly form. This is called the cytoplasm. So the first component and the second component. Cytoplasm is the next part of the cell, which is a jelly-like substance present inside this. Then the third main component of the cell is the center portion of the cell, which is important, and it is called the nucleus. So these three components, which I have called first, I can see second and third. So the three components of the cell together, they are called the they make up the nucleoplasm, or they are called the main components of the cell. Okay, so cell membrane is the outermost boundary. Inside the boundary there is a semi jelly like substance which is called the cytoplasm, and the third component is the nucleus. So this portion of the book describes the parts of the cell. The basic components of a cell are cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. The cytoplasm and nucleus are enclosed within a boundary, as I have told you just now. It is also called the plasma membrane. So cell membrane is also called plasma membrane. This membrane separates one cell and it makes the boundary. So cell membrane is also called the plasma membrane. It is porous and allows the substances to enter inside and go out of the cell. It controls the movement of material inside the cell. And activity 8.3, this is again you need a microscope, but if you study any onion bulb, any onion, and remove the pink cover from it and you observe one white part of the onion under a microscope, you will see that it separates into thin layers. Place this thin layer on a glass slide and observe the slide and draw the label. When you will draw, it will look like this. It will show this yellow portion is the yellow part. It is the slide. Whenever we observe anything under a microscope, it is made colored because every substance in a microscope will be small and it will not be visible. Therefore, you have to give it a color, and that is called a dye. The boundary of the cell is called cell membrane. Inside the cell membrane, there is a cytoplasm and there is a nucleus. So these round spots which you are seeing, they are the nucleus. These are the three main components of the nucleus: cytoplasm, cell membrane and the nucleus. Together, all three are called the nucleoplasm. So you have learned earlier that the cell membrane gives shape to the cell. So what is the function of the cell membrane? Since it is a boundary, it will give shape to the cell. It will control what goes inside or what goes outside, and it gives shape to the cell. Apart from this cell membrane, there is a boundary which is outside the cell membrane, which is only seen in plants. There is a thick layer of cells in plants, and this is called the cell wall. The cell wall is an additional layer which surrounds the cell membrane in plants for protection. So cell membrane is giving shape, but the cell wall is protecting the cell membrane. The plant cell need protection and support, which is given by the cell wall. The plants need protection. They need to stand vertically. They have to face the wind. So if the wind will blow, the plant can fall down. So the boundary which is outside the cell is called the cell wall. But this cell wall is present only in plant cell. And this is present in plant cell because plants do not have bones to give them support and protection. The cell wall gives them shape and protection and supports the cell. Cells can be observed in the leaf and they have given some names. Activity 8.4. This is the structure. This is showing how will you observe a animal cell. So this is an activity which can be observed only by a microscope. But if you observe a skin cell, then in the skin cell, how will you get the skin cell? They have said that from the book that if you use a toothpick and remove something from your teeth, a cell will come out. You can prick your inner mouth. You can scratch your finger. You will get a skin. If you observe that under a microscope, you will observe a pattern which is shown in this color. This is the human cheek cell. They are flat. They have got nuclear membrane. They have got cytoplasm. The dark blue portion is the nucleus, and they have got a cell membrane boundary. And this is one cell. This is second cell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells have been shown here. So we read just now that cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance present between the cell membrane and the nucleus, and various other components are there. Now apart from these three parts, there are other components also which are present inside the cell. Now those components are not mentioned in the book, but if we observe three names I mentioned, fourth name is another component which is empty. It is a hollow part. It is called a vacuole. This is the fourth component of a cell. These vacuoles are empty spaces which are present inside the cell, and they are empty. Why are they empty? Because the cell is not having any organ for storing the food, or so the cell stores the food inside. Some of the vacuoles store the waste also, which are present inside the cell. There are various other parts. You will study about those parts in higher class. In your book, the function of cytoplasm I have discussed. Now nucleus, it is an important component of the cell. The nucleus is present in the center of a cell, as I have said. This nucleus controls all the activities of the cell. So nucleus is called, it is generally spherical. It can be stained and it can be seen easily with a microscope. Nucleus is separated from the cytoplasm. Now if you study this nucleus under a microscope, you will see that if you study a nucleus, it will have a boundary, it will have something inside it, and it will have a component. So it will also have a boundary which will be called the nuclear membrane. Like we read cell membrane, so nucleus will have a nuclear membrane. It will have a liquid inside, like in every cell there is cytoplasm and cell membrane. So in a nucleus there is nuclear membrane and nucleoplasm. The nucleus is separated by a nuclear membrane which is a boundary. This is also porous and allows the movement of material between the cytoplasm and the inner part. So this nucleus has got a boundary outside it. If I make a boundary, this will make a boundary of the nucleus, which is called a nuclear membrane. Within the microscope of higher magnification, we will see that the body inside the cell will have nucleolus. And if we study nucleus under a microscope, you will see that it has got some components inside. They are called the chromosomes. If you read the book and see, it contains chromosomes which are called the genes. What are chromosomes? The word chromosome maybe you have heard. Chromosomes are the components, thread-like structures. In addition, nucleus contains thread-like structures called chromosomes. These chromosomes carry genes and help in inheritance or transfer of characters. Transfer of character means it helps in transferring of hereditary qualities from parent to the child. So we will continue and understand more about this in the next portion. And here it is describing the nucleus. So the nucleus contains thread-like structures which are called chromosomes. These chromosomes carry genes. These genes are inheritance. That means they transfer qualities or characters from parent to the children. You are having similar skin like your parents. You are having same height, color of hair, color of eyes like your parents, because the parents' genes were passed on to you. So the characteristic quality of a parent is passed on to the child, which is called the chromosomes. The chromosomes can be seen only when the cell divides. They are present inside the cell. They decide the hereditary quality of a parent, which is passed on to the children. So where are the chromosomes or the genes present? They are present inside the nucleus. Now here it is describing gene is a unit of inheritance in living organism. It controls the transfer of hereditary characteristics from parent to offspring. Your parents pass some of their characteristics to you. That is why you are resembling your parents. In addition to its role in inheritance, it acts as a control center. It controls all the activities of the cell. And the entire component of the cell is called the protoplasm. So we can say that a nucleus, cytoplasm and the cell membrane together are called the protoplasm. It includes the cytoplasm, nucleus and the cell membrane, which is called the protoplasm. The nucleus of a bacteria cell is not well organized. This portion is important. You will study this portion in detail in the next class. And it is saying that every cell is having a nucleus, and the nucleus of a bacteria cell is not well organized, like the cells of a multicellular organism. So we will read this in the next class. So stay connected, and if you have any doubt or suggestion, you can put a comment below this video, and join us for the next class, and subscribe the channel and press the notification. You will get lot of benefit of learning online. See you in the next class.